Hey everybody. On Friday, we had the best time talking on Atlanta Sex Therapy Inside Look about Atlanta premarital counseling. I think at one point on somebody said it is the best kept secret in Atlanta. And so therefore, I want you to listen to all we have to say. If you know anybody who's not married, forward the video to them and let them listen as well. All right, let's get into it.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I am Natalie
Good
Elliott with Atlanta
morning.
Sex Therapy. I have our fabulous office manager, Joe, here, and
Oh,
our one of our clinicians on staff, Sherry and Phelps. And we are going to actually talk today about Atlanta premarital counseling because that's one of our lines of business and one of the services we offer to the community. Um, but let me check in. So, Joe, how are you doing today?
good. I'm doing good. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's fall, which is one of my favorite times of the year. It's
Yeah.
just, I love it. I love it. I'm
Okay.
doing great. I'm
All
doing
right.
great.
Sherry,
Yeah.
how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. No complaints.
All right, good. And Sharian is actually at the office today. And so,
Right.
yeah, it looks nice and bright in there. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay. I could put probably a curtain on that window. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
All right.
You don't know, you see things differently, starts to look different. All right. So Atlanta premarital counseling. So let me talk first about why I decided to do or create a premarital counseling workshop for people. It's a service I wanted to do for the community specifically, and it was probably kind of an answer to a problem that I saw in the community. So people would talk, or I would have clients in my office, and basic things I'd be like, "Y'all didn't cover that in premarital counseling. That's kind of like marriage one-on-one." And one of the biggest things was sex. Sex was not covered in premarital counseling at all. And so the
Wow.
Georgia state actually requires six topics to be covered, and sex is not one of them. So
Wow.
finances, parenting, conflict resolution, communication, extended family roles, and one other one that I always forget. But sex was not included in that. And if you look at any of the statistics, the top five reasons, sex is always in the top five reasons for divorce. And so I wanted a premarital something, a
Mm-hmm.
premarital something that would address that, because there was no sense in clients struggling and then finally making it into my office for just information I wish they would have had from the beginning. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things is sex is going to change throughout the lifespan. A 60-year-old person doesn't have sex like a 20-year-old person. And what do we do as it changes? We Nobody was talking about how sex affected, how pregnancy affected sex, and having kids affected sex, and all of that, and just getting older affected sex. What do you do if a partner has cancer and they're not able to be active with you for a year, 2 years? What if you do if your partner goes into depression, and isn't able to interact with you? Like, these are the things that I wanted couples to know before they got married, so we can start to have the conversation. Our basic simple stuff is pouring allowed in our household. And so we'd have clients to be
That's
like,
good.
I, it was so funny. One time was like, it was a spouse, a heterosexual couple, and the wife was like, oh my God, I can't believe you watch porn. Like, oh my God. And the guy was like, I've been watching this since I was 5. What are you talking about? And she's just like, but we
Wow.
don't believe in that. He was like, believe in
Right.
what? It's a TV show. Like, it was, and so these are the things that would come up. And I was like, oh, that really should have been talked about in premarital
Yeah.
counseling. And then because I had a full practice, the easiest way for me to deliver that service was to put it in a workshop. put it in a workshop.
Mm-hmm.
That worked easier for me. And then what we have found is it works easier for a lot of clients, especially as Atlanta has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and traffic has
Mm-hmm.
gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And to have two people get off their jobs and try to be at the same place at the same time consistently for 6 to 8 weeks just isn't feasible. Also,
Mm.
we've been able to serve a community that hasn't been able to do premarital counseling because of distance. And so, like,
Yeah.
I think Joe, you had just said a couple of weeks ago, we got somebody who's international. And so
Mm-hmm.
one person is here in
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, the other person's in Germany or Australia or
Yep.
wherever. And so
Yep.
being able to like fly in and do it all in a 1 day workshop is
Mm-hmm.
very convenient for a lot of people, or just people who are busy, or those couples
Yep.
who work different shifts. I'm on first shift, on second shift. We can pass in the night, but we cannot 8 weeks, for eight
Yeah.
weeks be at the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
place at the same time. And so
Yeah.
having it in that 1 day format where you can just kind of shut the world out and just concentrate on us for that
Mm-hmm.
1 day is what our premarital workshop does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, other thing I want to say is the other thing we added to it, because it's 8 hours plus breaks in there. So by the time you finish, it's a long, long day.
Mm-hmm.
That we started really, really early. And when I was running it, every time I got up, I'd be like, God, now I don't understand why I started this so early. But it's the long day, it's a lot of information that we're
Yeah.
trying to get in. So
Yeah.
we added sex in, and then we also added what I call making a marriage manifesto. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think each clinician has been able to do what they wanted to do with that, and they can really serve the needs of the couples that's sitting in front of them with that. My original vision was that is that just couples would talk about their goals together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so throughout the years, I've noticed that people would have goals for the relationship, and they would have goals for themselves, and they would have goals for their partner, but
Right.
none of this may not be discussed together. And so
That's
with
good.
that, I wanted couples talking about like, what are we going to do? Okay, you want to climb Mount Everest and I want to go to Hawaii. Can we put this on one goals list? What's important? What comes first? What do we need to do? The other thing with that making a marriage manifesto is I wanted couples talking about their values. What do we
Mm-hmm.
value as a couple?
Mm-hmm.
So are we and I used to joke like, I don't care what you value, but y'all need to be on the same page with what we
Yeah.
value, because once you
Yeah.
figure out what you value, that's going to change, or that's going to give organization to how you spend your money, how you spend your time, how you spend um what do you do for extracurriculars. And so I was saying, so I would tell them, I remember saying like, you can value the trees if you want to, but I need you guys to come up with a joint with a kind of a joint value system, and then figure out what that means. So if we
Mm-hmm.
value trees as a couple, and I'm saying that because I'm looking at the beautiful trees this fall morning. If we value trees, what does that mean for us as a couple? Okay, because we value trees, then we're going to go for a walk in the mountains at least once a month.
Yeah.
Because we value trees, that every time we have a fire in the fireplace, we also plant a tree. Because we
Mm-hmm.
value trees, then we don't use paper in our household.
Mm-hmm.
We don't use paper.
Mm-hmm.
We don't use paper products because we don't want them killing the trees, because we value trees. And
Mm-hmm.
so just that one thing kind of organizes how we do things. It organizes, just if we don't use paper products, then we're
Mm-hmm.
doing everything electronically. We're using
Mm-hmm.
plastic instead. We're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so just having that conversation about our kind of core values is going to kind of organize everything. So if we value trees and we got to go for a walk in the trees once a
Mm-hmm.
month, then we need to set aside the money for that. Make sure
Mm-hmm.
our time and schedule allows for that. Do we need to get a babysitter, or are the kids coming with us? What are we teaching them about trees? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want couples talking about kind of in premarital counseling. All right, Sherry, I've talked
That's it.
probably, I think, 10 minutes straight.
That was good though.
So,
That's good.
Sherry, when you do, because I've actually passed off the premarital counseling workshop. So, Sherry does it and Jessica does it. And I wish
Mm-hmm.
Jessica was here for this conversation today. I don't know. Which, oh, yeah, she has that business meeting that she
Mm-hmm.
might, so she can get away from her business meeting. She might be able to come in. But,
Mm-hmm.
Sherry, and when you run the premarital counseling, like, tell us, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you liking about it? What are clients liking about it?
Okay, so when I think about premarital counseling as being preventive based, like
Mm.
psychoeducation, like you learn, like you were saying, how to structure and organize your marriage through understanding what communication is, what shared values are, how to resolve conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So some things that the clients have said mainly is you've really helped us tie in some tie in some concepts and things about our relationship that we never really thought about before.
Mm-hmm.
Even people getting an awareness of mm, there hadn't been effective communication. And the biggest thing is validation
Mm-hmm.
and understanding what that is and what that's not.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm having a moment.
Okay. All right. Tell me about one couple that you really felt benefited from premarital counseling.
You mean an example of a couple that really benefited?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So I guess at the end of premarital counseling, most people will say, man, this really taught me a lot about myself,
Yeah.
Mm,
right?
mm, mhm,
And they would say, I got so much from this than what I thought that I would get from this.
Oh,
mhm.
wow.
That's
I
good.
thought that this was going to be
That's
one
good.
thing, and it turned out to be another.
Mhm,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
since I'm like a real process oriented therapist, we spend like the first half of our afternoon really processing through when they kind of say, well, they fill out the thing. I think we could grow in communication. I think that we can grow in household roles. So, and when we get to the communication piece, I feel blank about blank and I would like
mhm,
blank,
Mm-hmm.
teaching
mhm,
them communication. It's really helping them get to why it matters in the first place,
mhm.
Yeah.
That's good.
right?
That
That's
is
Why is
good.
good.
this even important? Why is this
Right.
even a complaint?
Mm-hmm.
And so they figure that out in a way that becomes helpful for both
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
then they start to understand how to build upon that.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody would say, hey, I never knew that he valued quality time because when he was growing up, his mama used to work late.
Mm,
Mm.
So it helps them
mm,
accommodate that and they don't just look at it as a complaint of my spouse. Baby, I don't mind supporting you now because I get
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of you just trying to be demanding and be controlling. So now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
This is why it's important to you. So I get a lot of that. They even get to figure themselves out
Mm-hmm.
within the premarital counseling. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, most of our mornings is spent on communication before
Mm-hmm.
we even get to all the other stuff. Because once we
Mm-hmm.
get that down pat, once we moved into the conflict resolution piece of premarital counseling, it becomes easier. Once we get
Mm-hmm.
into the roles and chores, it just becomes a little bit easier because now everybody has a different perspective of themselves. And I've even had people when we get to the conflict resolution say, since we spent our morning on this, it's not even a problem no more.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
happened to me
that.
a few times. The conflict that
Wow.
we thought we had, it's not even a conflict no more because now I have a different perspective of
Wow.
the problem.
Oh, wow. All
Mm,
right. If you had to tell couples something about the premarital counseling workshop, what's the
that's
one thing
good.
you would want couples to know?
Um, that it's worth it.
Mm,
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 yeah.
Um, that it's better to get a foundation, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
what you said, to organize and structure your relationship. It's a tool,
Yeah.
mm,
right? So
Yeah.
all of these things you learn, you're just not learning it to learn it. It's an actual tool.
Yeah.
So I think that you
that's
learn
good.
the
That's
tools
good.
to set your marriage, your future marriage or future long-term relationship up in a way that both
Yeah.
people are winning.
Yeah. I
I
think
get to
Mm,
win and you get to win.
yeah, that's
mhm.
good. And then for a while, the way I just thought about it, it was like I have this couple, and I don't know what life is going to throw at them. And so I
Right.
just need to try to give them every tool and teach them how to use it. So no matter where the journey takes them, they'll be able to survive. So if you wind up in the desert, you have these tools. If you wind up in the mountains, you'll have these tools. If you wind up on an iceberg, you'll have these tools, because I don't know where your life journey is going to take you. And so, but it's going to be something.
Mhm.
And
It
so,
is.
as therapists, we know, according to Gottman, every couple is going to have at least one perpetual problem that's not going to go away.
Mhm.
Like every couple, at least one. And so, my hope is that premarital counseling gives our clients those tools to, okay, how do we deal with this? So, Jessica, welcome to the call. I'm so glad you came, because we're
Hey,
talking about
Jessica.
premarital counseling today.
Yes.
And so, which is a great, great topic. So, tell us from your perspective, what do you enjoy most about the premarital counseling? What do you hear people say they're getting out of it?
Mm. Um, I think different people get different things out of it, which is why it's so great because you never know what you're going to get out of it until you go through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times, even when couples are like, oh, we don't fight or we don't have any big disagreements, like having a worksheet on the conflict resolution of like, how are you contributing to it and solutions towards it, and
Mm-hmm.
just being able to practice, because I think a lot of times people are like, we're not gonna be able to take a time out in the middle of an argument. I was like, if you practice taking a time out before it gets to the point that you're in it, it'll feel more natural to take it when it's heated and there's a lot of stuff going on. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of times um, you practice some of those things before they're necessary so that you have them when they're necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of an important thing to think about. And yeah.
It's so funny that you say that, because all of us grew up in school having fire drills, right?
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the hope is you never get in a fire. But I think everybody knows from those practices, get in a single file line, get with your class, find your important person, stop, drop, and roll, right? And that comes from practice with that. So that's a really good one. What do you enjoy most about the premarital counseling when you're teaching them?
Um, I love when couples find the aha moments or the
Ooh.
oh, this will be really helpful, or like, oh yeah, like we really need to talk about this.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can, depending on like, so sometimes I'll have couples that it's just one couple and we can kind of deep dive
Mm-hmm.
into what's going on with them and they feel more open about sharing because it's just me and them. And
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes with multiple couples, it can be really helpful because you have, well, I went through this situation and handled it this way. And this other couple is like, oh, we had a similar situation and handled it this way. So you can get multiple perspectives
Mm-hmm.
of the same thing. But yeah, I think it's being able to tailor the training to what's specifically going on with that couple
Yeah.
and giving them like, okay, for this particular situation, this might be more helpful than this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, more than anything, if like finding their takeaways at the end of like, this is what I'm going to take away from it. I was like, absolutely.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad that's happening, because when I structured them, I did want to kind of keep them small. And with that, and so for everybody in the world, our premarital counseling, it happens usually after practice. We are starting to offer an online option. And so go to atlantapremaritalcounseling.com and you'll see those options. Either Sharon's a leader or Jessica's a leader in the workshop. But in the workshop, we have the ability for 1 to 4 couples to sign up with that. And so if you have 4 couples, like the amount of information that people get and the camaraderie that they feel, it's just amazing. Like there's a synergy that happens in the group where it's almost like we're all in this together, like, and we're all trying to learn together. And so that's just like a wonderful kind of like delicious, like smorgasbord of just like from a therapist, like 8 people's issues we get to like dive in and talk about. And I love that in the group setting, people don't feel alone, that somebody else is able to be like, yep, that happened to me. Yep. Okay. I feel that. Yep. We as a couple dealt with that as well. And especially if one couple's kind of moved past the problem, then where another couple's really had a problem, it gives them hope. So that's wonderful. But when we only have those days where we only have one couple, and you get the opportunity to spend one day with a couple and they can deep dive on every issue. So the state of Georgia requires us to talk about 6 topics with that. But in that, we can say, which is why I love we don't have like a hard and fast written curriculum, because we can really deep dive into the area that's bothering that couple the most. And so if you're both millionaires and everything, then we probably don't need to worry about the finances as well. But if y'all both have 5 step kids apiece with that, then we're going to spend a lot of time on co-parenting and parenting issues with that. And so I really love that we've been able to just to tailor it like that. So Joe, I'm going to throw it to you. What are you hearing about the premarital counseling? What are people asking about? What are they wanting to know?
A lot of different things, and all of them are positive. All of them are
Okay.
positive. They, number one, enjoy the group, what we have as a nucleus of a group, but they
Mhm.
don't like it when there's like a bunch of people.
Okay.
So what they usually ask is how many people or how many couples are in the session or in the group. When I
Mm-hmm.
tell them we set a limit, like 4 or even
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 1, they're like, oh, that is so good, because they
Mm-hmm.
don't want all their business out there. They don't know who the
Yeah.
other people are, but
Yeah.
they love the intimacy that we're offering for, what we
Mm-hmm.
have.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. The second one is they love that we offer 2 free, stay free, sessions, for the people who take the premarital counseling. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing that I've heard is the certificates. They love that they could take their certificate anywhere in Georgia after taking the, premarital
Mm-hmm.
workshop with us. They could take it anywhere to the courthouse and get a discount for the
Mm-hmm.
license. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something I wanted to ask you all to talk about, because they love hearing that. And that's one of the probably second questions that people ask about.
Yeah.
We heard about the certificate.
Yeah.
Where can we take it to, and what courthouse can we go to,
Yeah. Well,
in Georgia?
like you just said, any courthouse in Georgia. And that's also one of the things that I really like about our workshop, because we pretty much try to give you that certificate at the end of the day, unless some odd snafu has happened. We usually try to give you that certificate at the end of the day, so you're walking out with it. And yes, you
Mm-hmm.
do get 2 free counseling sessions after that. And we did that because we wanted couples, if we had a group of four couples, and one couple had an issue that they didn't want to talk about in front of anybody else, we wanted to give them the opportunity so they could get all of the information they needed. And if there's just anything in the workshop that they needed to felt like they needed to do a deeper dive on, we wanted them to be able to come back and do that with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's usually, yes, Jessica.
Well, I just wanted to say, like, sometimes I've had a couple come back and they had the premarital workshop like in January, and I met with them in the last month, and they've been married and they have a kid. And so dealing with, all right, this wasn't an issue at the time, now this is an
Mm,
issue. And so being
Mm-hmm.
able to use it, not necessarily like, oh, well, we just spent a day with a counselor, like we're
That's
probably
it.
good, but being able to use it 6 months down the road, or depending on, what the timeline is for that, to be
yeah.
able to process some of that blending family issues.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. That is really
It's
good.
good.
That's
It's
really
good.
good. Because marriage, like most things, is you have an idea, and then when you actually in it,
The
Especially if
reality.
they didn't live together previously. Like if they're coming and they're living together after they're married, that can introduce all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
yes, and
It sure does.
dynamics, and yeah, yeah.
Very
And,
different.
it with something with we'll talk to couples and we'll remind each person, wherever you go, you take you with you. And the
Yeah.
idea of getting to know yourself and what you are bringing into a relationship, and how you deal with things, and just little idiosyncrasies about the amount of pillows are on the couch, and leaving crumbs on the counter, and with that, and what one person finds respectful versus disrespectful. And so it is really helpful to have an outside person to bounce that off of, or just to say, I had a dream of my marriage, and this is not the dream
Mm-hmm.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully we can switch to what's good about the reality is this, and that with
Mm-hmm.
that. So, Jessica, for you, if you had to tell couples one thing about the premarital counseling workshop, what would you tell them?
You can get out of it what you put into it. Like if
Oh,
you
yeah.
I mean, like, we have the tools and we want to talk to you and we want to be there for you. But if you're just like, I'm going to absorb all of this, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to engage, and I'm going to leave, I don't know how helpful that was. So, like, the
Hmm.
more open you are, the more, like, receptive you are, the more you're going to get out of it.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
good, good,
Mm-hmm.
good. All right, Joe, last thoughts from you?
Last thoughts are we are a best kept secret.
Okay.
We are a best kept secret.
Okay.
And here in the Marietta area, and I tell people we're 10 minutes from the new Brave Stadium, now old. But they're like, oh, that's great. You're covering them all. But we are a best kept secret in that we offer unique services, and we're not a cookie cutter
Yeah.
counseling or premarital workshop. We do work with you. It's we even though there's a group, we treat you as individuals and we treat you as human beings. It's not a
Mm,
cattle drive.
right.
Okay. So, you're getting not only the best bang for your buck, but you're also getting something that, as Natalie said, tools for the rest of your life. We
Yeah.
value the information that we give to you. We make sure that it's tailor fit and custom made for you who come in, and it's also a very intimate setting where when people get done, they love what they've been taught. They love what it is that they've been through in the workshop, and I also say it's part of a counseling thing. But we give
Hmm.
you a large part of ourselves when you come in, and we care about the people who are here.
Yeah.
So we just hope that you do come. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared, as a lot of people say. Come on in and allow us to give you some tools and some
Yeah.
information that'll help you for life,
Yeah.
and then apply those tools for
Yeah.
life. It's
Yeah.
up to you to participate, and we would love to have you.
Yeah.
That's all. Don't think about the cost. Think about what you're going to do,
Yeah.
and the investment that it's going to put into you and your marriage, which should be for a
Mhm.
lifetime. So
Right.
think about your investment
Yeah.
and then go from there.
I think the thing when you think about things that we invest in and how much it costs to invest in it, um,
Hmm.
people will invest in the actual wedding ceremony to the
Hmm.
tune of 20,000, 40,000, $100,000 for a 1 day wedding ceremony.
Hmm.
People will invest in their education to the tune
Hmm.
of 40,000, 50,000, sixty
Hmm.
thousand, $100,000, $200,000 to get in
Hmm.
it, to get education for the career that may or may not take you the rest of your life. It may be
Right.
10 years, it may be 20 years, it may be 30, but it's not the rest of your life. And so when you look at premarital counseling, these are skills that you're going to learn and take for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
That's it. You will have skills that will help you. I'm going to say skills that'll help you in every relationship. Because once
Hmm.
you start to understand yourself better, and your reactions better, and your triggers better, then that's going to change all of your relationships. Then you'll be able to be like, yeah, that's my issue, not yours. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go work on that. Let me go calm down and then come back and start to have the conversation again. So,
Hmm.
all right, that's
Hmm.
our time. Ladies, thank you so much for giving me your time today. This was a
Thank you.
great conversation and needed because I'm rebranding the premarital workshop, and the little sales girl was just asking me for more information about it. And so this was so on time. So thank
Um,
you. And you guys have a great, great day.
You too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.